Welcome back, everyone. As you probably guessed from the title of the video, we have some good news for you today. So as of today, this morning, about 2 hours ago, as of when I'm recording this, the Supreme Court has made their ruling on the bump stock case. So just real quick history for folks who aren't familiar with it. I'm going to try to make this video as short as possible, give you all the information you need to know, and then what will happen going forward based on this case. But in 2017, there was the Las Vegas shooting where people claimed that a bump stock was used. President Trump instructed his attorney general at the time to direct the Department of Justice to ban bump stocks and reclassify them as machine guns, which is what the Department of Justice and ATF did. Of course, no law was passed by Congress authorizing that reclassification, and I should note that machine guns are defined in a specific way under the National Firearms Act, which was passed in 1934. Long story short, in order for something to be a machine gun, it needs to fire more than one round with a continuous pull of the trigger. So if you are pulling the trigger multiple times and firing one round each time you pull the trigger, by statute, by definition, by law, that item is not a machine gun. That was the defense that Michael Cargill, as well as many other organizations, took when they took up the case to fight this ban, and it finally made its way to the Supreme Court. I should note this case is the first of a number of interpretations by the ATF since 2017 that are going to the Supreme Court. Many more are coming, and if this is any sort of precursor to those cases, they should go in the way of liberty-loving Americans. That's my take anyway. So before we actually get into a few different quotes from this ruling, it's not all that long. I will link it down below in the video description. I think it's 60-something pages, and that includes the dissent, which we'll get to here in a second, because the dissent is probably going to be just as important as the actual ruling going forward. But we do need to thank the channel sponsor before we do all that, and that is, of course, Brownells. They have everything you need for your firearms needs: ammo, guns themselves, probably bump stocks once they start reproduction and get out there in the market. Gunsmithing supplies, all of those things are available over at Brownells. So again, big thank you to them for being the main channel supporter. And let's get into a few different quotes rather. So the actual ruling and the decision was written by Justice Clarence Thomas, who is, in my opinion, the best writer of rulings in the Supreme Court. So let's get into it. A few quotes. So this case asks whether a bump stock, an accessory for a semi-automatic rifle that allows the shooter to rapidly re-engage the trigger and therefore achieve a high rate of fire, converts the rifle into a machine gun. We hold that it does not, and therefore affirm. So that's pretty clear cut. Supreme Court rules that, again, the bump stock does not turn a normal semi-automatic firearm into a machine gun. We hold that a semi-automatic rifle equipped with a bump stock is not a machine gun because it cannot fire more than one shot by a single function of the trigger, and even if it could, it would not do so automatically. So the automatically thing was something that the Department of Justice was arguing in support of their case for banning the bump stocks. They were saying that essentially a new technology had come out and it circumvented the law that was passed in 1934. However, that absolutely is not true. If anybody knows anything about bump firing, you can bump fire firearms from your shoulder. You can do it from your waistband. You can do it with a rubber band, quite literally. People have been doing this for hundreds of years, or over 100 years, I guess, at this point. Bump firing has been a tradition in semi-automatic firearms ownership, again, for 100 years now. This is absolutely nothing new. And Justice Thomas goes on to say, ATF therefore exceeded its statutory authority by issuing a rule that classifies bump stocks as a machine gun. It's pretty clear, right? The ATF classified a piece of plastic that you can add onto a semi-automatic firearm, and they said that piece of plastic itself was a machine gun, not the firearm you added it to, but the piece of plastic itself was a machine gun, which in no way does that piece of plastic fit the definition of a machine gun under the National Firearms Act. And then it says a semi-automatic rifle equipped with a bump stock does not fire more than one shot by a single function of the trigger. With or without a bump stock, a shooter must release and reset the trigger between every shot. And they actually go into, if you actually read the ruling, they very clearly go over like trigger reset, sear release, all of those sorts of things that people who are into guns know about in terms of how firearms function. And the Supreme Court has illustrations in their ruling of all of these things, disproving the ATF's theory and the Department of Justice's theory that these items are machine guns. I should also note, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, on all of my various social media accounts, I will upload a video that was done by the Gun Collective. I tried to do it here on YouTube. YouTube will not let me post that video, so I will upload it on all my various social media accounts. It's a high-speed video that will show how an actual bump stock works and how, with every time the trigger is pulled, the trigger is fully reset, and a single pull releases a single round in, glorious, like I think it's like 6,000 frames a minute. So you guys will see it, and you should be, after watching that video, pretty clear on what a bump stock actually does and what it doesn't do. However, that is what Clarence Thomas said. The dissent was written by Justice Sotomayor. She states, within a matter of minutes, using several hundred rounds of ammunition, the shooter killed 58 people and wounded over 500. He did so by affixing bump stocks to commonly available semi-automatic rifles. That is super important that the dissent in this case just admitted in an official Supreme Court ruling that semi-automatic rifles are commonly available and or common use. So if you look back to the Heller decision, which is probably a top 3 pro-Second Amendment decision in the history of the United States. It's a very important one. It's one that a lot of things are based on going forward. And Heller determined that anything that was in common use could not be banned either by a statute, whether it be an executive agency making a ruling, or by Congress passing a law, because that law would inherently be unconstitutional because anything in common use could not be banned, and it was common use at the time. That was the standard. So Heller looked at bearable arms, and that included, which was contentious at the time, handguns with detachable magazines. But basically that decision has been cited many times in many other decisions to establish that anything that was in common use could not be banned. And that is important because we have the Naperville case, which is potentially going before the Supreme Court this year, which is the Illinois assault weapons ban. That will encompass many different state cases that are being appealed right now to the Supreme Court, to include California, New York, Hawaii, Illinois, like we just talked about. It's going to be many of them, which are essentially bans on semi-automatic firearms, which, again, Justice Sotomayor, as well as the 2 other liberal justices, concurred with, that those are in common use. So if they're in common use, based on precedent that has been set for decades now, they cannot be banned. So that looks to be a very good sign going forward for future wins here in the case. Additionally, like I said earlier, the bump stock ban was the first thing that has actually made it to the Supreme Court. That was a challenge to executive agency rulings by the ATF and Department of Justice. There are many others, to include forced reset triggers. That's coming up soon. Additionally, frames and receivers rule, as well as the pistol brace. We had a big win in that case yesterday. However, it's not at the Supreme Court level yet. But all of those things are executive agency overreaches by the Department of Justice that are pending Supreme Court ruling. And with this as a precedent, looks like everything is going to be pretty good news going forward. Of course, we can't count the chickens before they hatch, but it is a good sign for sure. And definitely good news for anybody who likes civil rights and just civil liberties in America. If you guys have any questions about this, anything like that, you can post those down below in the comment section as well. You can also post over at my various social media pages. Again, I will have a video over there that will show you guys exactly how bump stocks work. I got a bunch of media inquiries this morning. I'm not responding to any of you out there who reached out to me in the media, simply because I do my own media and give my own answers. But that will be there for you guys to reference. It is a video done by the Gun Collective. It's a very good video, and definitely check out the Gun Collective if you haven't done so already. But again, if you are following me on all my social media, if you are subscribed here, you've hit the notification bell, and you're not seeing 2 videos a week here on the channel, you are being censored by an algorithm, 2 to 4 videos, I should say. And that is because I put them up every week, and YouTube or some other entity is blocking you from seeing them. You can circumvent that by signing up for my email list at the website here on your screen. This email goes out every month, once a month, so it's not super spammy, and it has all of the videos since the previous month's email went out. So that way there's no big tech giant censoring your eyes from my content. Additionally, we have a daily deals email. So whenever bump stocks come back in stock, because they should be, somebody's going to start making them relatively soon. Whenever they come back in stock, the ammo, the optics, the guns, the gear, etc., anything that is a good deal, a great sale, will go out in our daily deals email. You can sign up for that at the website here on your screen. It has 8 of the best deals that we find around the internet. If it is in that email on that particular day, it's the best price anywhere on the internet for that particular item. So because I've already done the price comparisons for you, so that way it saves you guys some money and some time. There's also a good meme in there that everyone seems to enjoy, so you can sign up just for the memes if you'd like to. And with that, that's all I have for you. Another win today. We'll take them when we can get them, and I look forward to seeing everybody in the next video.